I'd like to call this meeting to order this evening. At this time, we have with us Pastor Michael Mathis from Mission Field Ministries to lead us in our invocation, which will be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. If you will, all please rise.
O Lord God Almighty, truly, Lord, your loving kindness and your mercy endures to all generations, and we thank you for your sovereignty. And Lord, as we give thanks to you once again, we humbly bow before you in this setting, Lord, and we ask if there be anything that is not pleasing to you among us this evening, we ask that you would remove it and forgive each of us. O Lord, we thank you for your loving kindness and how you continue, God, to help us through these difficult times. We're so grateful now, God. We're especially grateful for this new year that you have allowed all of us to see, 2021. You have the whole world in your hands, God, and we are grateful because we can rest assured that in spite of any difficulties we encounter, God, you're going to work it out for all of us. We thank you. And we thank you, God, especially in these days. It's very difficult in leading anyway. But God, in these days that we are in now, it's especially difficult for those of us that are leading people. And simply put, with the mayor, oh Lord, we ask, God, that you would continue to strengthen and endow her with the strength, encouragement, and the loving kindness, God, that she might make all the wise decisions that she needs to make pertaining to this town. Thank you for her family. Thank you for all of the board members. God, as you shield and protect all of them and keep their families as they go out and come in. Thank you for their commitment and their willingness. And, oh Lord, as we support the mayor, help us, God, to continue, Lord, in respect, to show courage, to be able to mention the things that we need to bring up, that things might be well with the town of Hope Mills. We're grateful, God, because in this new year, as your servant, I declare over the town of Hope Mills a continued year of prosperity and blessing, a shield of protection around the inhabitants, the citizens of this town. We thank you for what you've done in 2019, but we thank you in advance for how the town of Hope Mills shall continue to stand regardless of what happens in this world or even in the city of Fayetteville. We thank you, God, for what you're doing. We are always so especially grateful for our first responders. Lord, in these times where they are always putting their lives in harm's way, we pray especially for Chief and all of them, the firemen, everyone, God. You know who the first responders are. You know who willingly put their lives in harm's way, and we pray that you would keep your angels of protection around them, shield their families, oh Lord, and let them know that you're with them. And now, God, we thank you for the agenda that's been set for tonight. We ask that you would continue, God, to open the doors and the ears of those that would provide the finances that this town would continue to prosper in this new year. And we give thanks to you now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. At this time, we have two additions to our agenda. One is to add to the consent agenda a consideration of reimbursement resolution R 2021-04 for John W. Hodges Public Safety Center loan. That would be item H. And also to add a closed session at the end of the meeting per GS 143-318, 1A, 3, and A6, attorney-client privilege and personnel.
Motion to add those to the agenda.
Have a motion to add those to the agenda. Do we have any other actions to the agenda, or do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented before you.
I'm sorry, motion to approve. the
Motion
agenda
to
as
approve. Do I
presented.
have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand and seeing none opposed. Thank you very much. The next thing we have is a special presentation. And I'm gonna come down there. Come down to the bottom. We have a very important person with us tonight in that for most of the time that I've been mayor and for quite a long time, they've been very involved in the reporting of the news for Hope Mills. And we have a special plaque we want to present tonight for your dedicated coverage of the town of Hope Mills during your lengthy service in journalism. And we so appreciate, and we're gonna miss you greatly, Roger Mullen with the Federal Observer.
Thank you.
Let's get a picture.
Oh, okay. All right.
Speech.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you all. Thank you all. I appreciate it
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank
No
you.
speech? Roger, I want to thank you very much for all the years, off and on, as your assignments came due to you that way. I want to thank you for all your dedication to this town. It's very much appreciated by me, and I know everyone else that's involved. I can
Yep.
speak for them.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you
Yeah, we're
again.
all well with everything you got going on. I know you got a lot going on. And I look forward to seeing it all come to fruition.
We'll look for a
Thank
little
you.
typo somewhere.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Uh-huh. Next, we have a presentation from Federal Coleman Economic Development Corporation, and it's an update, and it's presented by Robert Van Giens. Is he here?
He's not here, Madam Mayor. I don't know what's happened. We've not heard from him, so
Okay.
not sure.
Did
We can maybe move along and.
come back if he
see-
shows up?
yeah, see
Okay.
if he shows up.
All righty. Well, we will, if he comes in, we will add him back in as far as the presentation.
Okay.
And at this time, we have the State of the Town 2020,
Yep.
2021 by Ms. Adams and Mr. Holland.
Yep. And Drew's gonna go to the podium and I'm gonna stay here, so we're social distance, but, while he's pulling that up, I'm gonna hand out, I'm gonna remove that. Jane, that's your copy.
Has it got pictures on it? Has it got pictures on it?
Oh, yes.
Our PowerPoint does.
I'm
This
just
is-
kidding.
Our PowerPoint is merely a snapshot.
Thank you.
This is a list of the accomplishments
Thank you, ma'am.
this past year. Thank you, sir. The PowerPoint is merely a snapshot and a highlights of some of the accomplishments that we've done this past year. It's not meant to be all encompassing, so, the list that you have in front of you is sort of everything that we've accomplished this past year. So at the end of it, I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions if you've got anything, but in a year that was unprecedented due to COVID-19, you would think that we wouldn't get much accomplished, but somehow due to the innovative staff and the leadership of the town, we were able to accomplish a lot of things. And we'll start with our PowerPoint. We'll begin with the Gulfview Greenway, the driveway, and the parking lot. The driveway and the parking lot at Gulfview Greenway were completed in July 2020 to include signage and ADA parking spaces. And I believe that that is one of the most used amenities that we have, along with, of course, our walking trail around the town hall.
It was this weekend. Yeah.
A lot of people's resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Thomas Campbell Oakman Memorial Chapel, new roof and steeple repair along with timed lights and HVAC were installed. The Veterans Memorial Monument, cleaning and repairs to the monument were completed in September 2020, and plans to replace the fence are in the works. South Main Street sidewalks repairs on both sides of South Main Street between Lakeview, East and West Patterson Street. Heritage Park Pump House cleaning, repair, and installation of fencing. The Heritage Park Master Plan includes plans for the restoration of the pump house. The ADA Transition Plan was adopted August 3rd, 2020, after work with Stewart Incorporated. And we have already started some of the projects, and this will be ongoing for several years. Street patching and crack sealing, updated street survey, prioritized streets, which the town began patching and crack sealing. The town cost was $8,000. The engineer's estimate was $26,000. An approximately $18,000 savings utilizing workforce assets. Johnson Street Sidewalk Project. Johnson Street Sidewalk Grant Project is still in process. After delays due to COVID, NCDOT has re-energized the project. The water tank, repainted by PWC contractor, the town negotiated inclusion of the town logo. Heritage Park Master Plan. This has been completed and we were approved for the Partif grant, and hopefully we will begin work on the project with next year's budget. Gary Dove building renovations. Renovations to the Gary Dove building included installation of the new flooring in the community room, new roof, gutters, exterior doors, interior activity room, new lights, new shades, and the main office complex. And I think it looks very lovely. Parks and Recreation, the fitness room had an upgrade, new equipment and new TVs. Summer camp soccer virtual learning. The town was awarded a virtual learning center grant from Cumberland County in the amount of $22,596. Parks and Recreation introduced the most recreational programs ever to be offered simultaneously for all age groups with program fees up. Increase in revenue for the Parks and Recreation Department for 2020 summer camp and soccer signups. In the midst of the pandemic, when most businesses and recreational centers were shut down, with a net profit of $7,350. And staff is to be commended. And again, Parks and Rec staff should be commended for the events that they came up with during the pandemic. Parks and Rec has continued to come up with innovative ways to continue holiday traditions and other fun events during the pandemic. We had the 4th of July porch parade, we had the Veterans Day ceremony, we had Halloween events, we had a dog contest for Halloween, we had pumpkin carving, We had the Trinkle Trail, we had the Light Up Hope Mills, we had, many others, the Santa, the Box Santa. They've really continued to come up with ideas when no one else was really doing, anything for the children. So they're, again, they're to be commended for that. And I'll turn it over to Drew.
Okay,
He's gonna,
also during the pandemic, when you had a lot of places shutting down and not being able to, do their business, we actually had new businesses come to Hope Mills. We had the Biscuitville Open, Chick-fil-A. We have several, businesses that are gonna do some renovations and update their buildings, like, Smithfield's and, Dirtbag Ales. We also had 2 new Circle K's in town. We have the Murphy in front of the McDonald's, or in front of the Walmart, is gonna be renovated. The Dollar General site's being developed right now. The industrial site on the other side of 95 at Liberty Point is being developed right now. We had some empty businesses get filled, like Chef Glenn and different places in town like that. So we've had a lot of commercial growth in town, in the last year as well. We've also been doing a lot with, permits in town. Residential building permits are when people's doing any type of changes or additions, or renovations to their homes. 224 permits for that. 63 permits for new single-family, dwellings, and 31, building permits for commercial, for a total of 318 permits. This is on track with a year that's not a pandemic. So we did not slow down at all as far as, permits being issued for the town. Then we've also got new and active subdivisions in town. Some of these are different phases of existing subdivisions, and some of them are new subdivisions. But that goes to show you that there's still interest in residential development here in town, which is always good to have more new rooftops being built in town. Code enforcement. With part of the budget this year, we added an additional code enforcement position. Now we have 2 code enforcement officers, and we've done a complete restructure of how that department is being run. And under this new approach, each code enforcement officer is assigned a quadrant of the town. And in the future, if we were to add more officers, we're also gonna add more quadrants. Not that certain quadrants aren't being looked at now, but you can spread out more. They get more done with more people. So staff has also initiated bi-weekly staff meetings to ensure the level of continuity is maintained. So you should be seeing a difference in code enforcement as well. On the finance side, the CAFR certificate. We were awarded this year. It's the very first one that the town of Hope Mills has received. Again, the first certificate is always the hardest. We are going to continue to apply each year and do a comprehensive annual financial report that is also submitted to get the certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting. So it should be an ongoing thing here going forward. We also moved the police station to 3800 South Main Street. It was a large project, larger than we thought it would be when we first undertook this, but nevertheless, we got the police station moved. They're doing very well in their new space. They've got more room than they had before and spread out. There's a couple pictures of the interior. Looks really nice. They're doing well there. And I don't know if you've noticed, we finally got the sign out front. So people driving by can tell where the police department is. And because we had to move them, it's because of the John W. Hodges Public Safety Center. We've done a lot in the last 2 years to get to this point, and we've got the financing in place, we've got the contractor in place, and today I learned that the contractor has asked to move the date forward to start the project the week of January the 18th.
Cool.
So that is news that I
Very
just
good.
got today.
Very good.
So they'll start in the next couple of weeks, and the schedule shows they should be completed with all phases of the project by December 2022.
and like I said, that's just a snapshot of some of the list that you have that I handed out of 75 items that we were able to accomplish as a team. And I will emphasize that, as a team, and I'm very proud of my team. Are there any questions?
I'll just have a statement. I want to thank you and everyone involved in putting this together. I think you've done a great job trying to keep up with everything during the hard times we've had, as we'll call it, just hard times.
Yes, sir.
I have one request. Can you save a brick from the police station so we can put it away?
I'm sure we can do that.
But I'm really proud of all of you. It's a pleasure to having the opportunity to have worked with you. And it goes the same thing for all of our department heads and police chief and fire chief and Don and his crew and Chancellor and Lamarco, the finance crew, the everybody. So I don't miss anyone. It's been a real pleasure having the opportunity to work with you. And I thank you for your dedication. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Drew.
Next, we have the public hearings. The first is case P 19-01, modification of an approved CP plan commercial CZ conditional zoning for motor vehicle sales district or to a more restrictive zoning district on 2.18 plus or minus acres located on the east side of North Carolina 59 and the west of Service Road 1135, which is John Smith Road, north of North Carolina 162, George Owen Road, and it's submitted by Eric and Carrie Brown, owners, and George M. Rose, the agent. And I'll turn it over to Mr. McLaughlin at this time.
As stated, this is case P 19-01. This is a modification of an already approved conditional zoning request, and I'll explain that to you a little bit more in detail. The subject property is addressed as 2643 Hope Mills Road. It exists as 3 separate parcels, a total of 2.1 acres in size combined. The previously approved rezoning was done on March 18th by the board in 2019. It was rezoned from R6A to CP and CP to CPCZ. The applicant wants to increase the size of the proposed building and shift it a little bit, which is why he's having to come back. It's not any major issues with the actual already approved site plan, and this is for Brown's Auto World, but sometime between March of 2019 and now, they wanted to massage the site plan a little bit, and there is a threshold of changes that you can make to a site plan, and this exceeded that threshold, so this is why they have to come back, and it's called a modification. Everything else on the site is as it was before. The parcels to the north and south are still zoned under CP zoning. There's a residential lot to the rear of this that you'll see on the site plan that is not in our limits. It's in our MIA, but the site plan is contemplating just using that residential portion of the site for access off of John Smith and for detention. They're not putting any of the operation on that piece. Like I said, this is for the Browns Auto World. They'll have a total of 32 parking spaces, vehicle display areas around, and they do have to put a 6-foot privacy fence. This is a map that does kind of indicate the surrounding zoning. You see the subject property hashtagged out. Even though it's still showing 3, they have combined it in GIS as to one parcel. This is your land use. It does show the makeup of the surrounding area to the far east and far west of this as single-family residential, but you see the areas in red. That tells you that this area along Hope Mills Road is an established commercial corridor. This is an area photograph that just gives you a closer look at the makeup of the land use. This is showing you the hydric and hydric inclusion soils. There are none located in the close vicinity of the site. And this is your compliance with the Southwest Plan that does call for heavy commercial. So this request is in compliance. And this is your site plan. Again, you won't be able to see the change between the previously approved site plan and this one. But like I said, even though it sounds minor in nature, it did cross a threshold that required them to come out. When you do conditional zoning, you are conditioning the project to the site plan. And since they made a change to the site plan, they had to come in, but everything else is primarily exactly the same. And these are your site photographs. This is a view across the street from the subject property. This is a view along Hope Mills Road, again, across the street from the subject property. This is another view across the street from the subject property. They're basically outlining the 3 parcels, but you can't really tell. This is a view standing on the subject property across the street to the existing Browns Auto World. This is a view north along Hope Mills Road. Subject property is to the right. And that concludes the presentation. The recommendation of approval from staff is approval, and the recommendation from the planning board is also for approval. And you have their motion in your packets. I'd like to open up the floor to any questions that you may have.
Just one question that I have is, why would we not request them to, the property they're gonna have the driveway on? Why wouldn't we want to go ahead and have that annexed in?
I wouldn't have an issue with it. That's just what we approved the previous time. At the time that they came in with the approval in 2019, this just a piece of property off John Smith Road that we never really pursued, or they never really expressed an interest in annexing in. So with this request, the main thing driving this request is just shifting the building. I will have a conversation with the applicant to see if he's willing to voluntarily annex in. We can do that at a later date, but it just never really came up on their side or ours when we did the initial approval in 2019.
Because I think once we don't take it in, getting it in is very difficult. In other words, if that piece of property, if it's not part of this, then when you do decide down the road that we're trying to fill in blanks, that would be one of the areas that we've already had an opportunity to do something with and we didn't. That's just my only thought.
I can definitely reach out to the developer and applicant, because we do waive the fees for annexations. It really wouldn't harm or negatively impact his development at all.
Right.
I see your point in terms of the long-term implications on it, of us getting it in if we can. While he has it, he's going to utilize it. It's not going to violate anything if we move in that direction. So I will reach out to the applicant to see if they're willing to do that, and I'll update you guys as we move forward.
Any other questions?
I have a
Okay,
question, ma'am.
Commissioner Bellflowers?
Chancellor, go back to the site and show me where they're going to put the 6-foot privacy fence. Because I think I know where it is, and I think it
Ultimately-
may support what the mayor was asking, because I feel the same way.
Before I answer that question, let me show you the zoning map, because
Okay.
the zoning map is going to dictate where that privacy fence has to be on the rear side. All right. So if you can see, this area here is zoned residential.
Right.
So it's the area along the back. Now go back to the site plan. It's this area here. You wouldn't require it here until you annexed in out here. Because this is on residential now, this is not residential beside commercial. So right now, if you apply it, this portion is the only piece that's commercial adjacent to residential. Now, if we go in the direction of what the mayor's talking about,
Correct.
facilitates an annexation
Yeah.
of this, and we get this under commercial zoning, then.
And that's where I'm going, Chancellor. That's exactly where I'm going. Is without the annexation piece.
You wouldn't have that required
That's
along.
right, we wouldn't have that requirement. And I think we need that requirement based on the residential neighborhood that it's connected to.
And again, I don't have any objections to that. I can definitely reach out to the applicant. And it's not something where I think it was us not interested or the applicant refusing. It's just that when they came in with 2019, it just never came up on either side. But I don't see how that would negatively affect the project. And it's nothing more of a almost like an administrative process to get it annexed in. So I'll definitely reach out to him tomorrow and see if he's interested in approaching it.
I just think if we're going to do this, we ought to do it correctly on the front end.
Yeah, I
And this
agree.
is the front end.
I agree.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments or questions?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
may I? Are we gonna have any problem with exits from the backside?
Now, are you speaking to any specific issues?
Well, most places usually have a front way in and front way out.
Yes.
Front way out right there is the one way.
Well, there is an entrance off the rear. So you have an entrance here, and you have an entrance here.
So all this other land is gonna be parking or grass
Yes.
area?
So if you recall in the staff report, there are several vehicle display areas. So if you're thinking about a car dealership, most of the lot is going to be for cars being displayed. You probably have you have your required parking that's required by the zoning ordinance, but based on their proposals, their vehicle display areas are in the front of the building along Hope Mills Road. To the south, and then probably that big area to the rear of the building that is what I'm anticipating there being your vehicle storage area. And I completely agree with us facilitating the annexation to get you that fence around the entire backside of it, because you want to probably shield not only those cars, and I'm almost certain the stormwater ordinance is going to require a fence around that pond, but you still want to have that kind of blocked and shielded as well. But and to answer your question, Mr. Lake, you do have egress and ingress provided to along Hope Mills Road and the rear of the property as well.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner
Do-
Marley?
So do we need to act on this tonight, or just?
Yes.
Do you have a chance to speak with them? Because if we, I mean, I may be wrong here, but if we go ahead and pass this tonight, then, I mean,
Well, I agree with you, Commissioner Marley. I was going to ask, is this if we pass this motion tonight, would it be contingent on volunteer annexation of that piece? Can we add that in?
I don't know if we have the authority to do that, because under conditional zoning, all of the conditions added have to be mutually agreed upon. I think to answer Mr. Marley's piece, this may be a legal question. I don't think that if you move forward with approval of the rezoning, it prohibits you from pursuing the annexation on the back end. I also don't think that it would be an issue if you were to possibly see if you could table this to see if the applicant would be amenable to coming back
There we
to
go. There we go.
that's
the
what I'm
next
getting
public
at.
hearing.
Because if you give them what they, if you
Yeah.
go ahead and do what they want tonight, then I ain't doing that.
The reason why
I don't have no.
The reason why I put out the second option is because, again, you can't approve it tonight and make that a condition without him agreeing upon it. And he's not here.
Okay.
So
If you table it, give him an opportunity to appear at the next public hearing, then you have him in the room to see if he's open to that. I can have those conversations as well, and then that way you can probably make
Yeah,
that a
that's
part
the motion,
of
just
the
to table
rezone.
Motion to do it.
I put that in. Can we do that? We can.
I think you just table it to the next
So we
public
just
hearing.
need to make a motion, Mayor, do we need to just make a motion to table this till
The next meeting?
the
Yes,
next meeting?
yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to table this until our January the
21st. 19th.
19th.
Yeah, that's right, 19th.
January 19th meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor? That's it, okay.
Closing the public hearing tonight and tabling a decision.
I would table the decision
Yeah.
until we hear back and we have a chance for the
Move
owner or whatever to come and speak with us so we can ask if they would like to.
Yeah.
So we'd be moving the public hearing along with this, so that way give the owner
Will remain open
until,
until the next meeting.
yes,
That way we don't have to do another advertisement for the public hearing. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, that works.
And I do think this is a good plan of action because you're not asking the applicant to alter his project. You're not asking him to alter his site plan. You're just asking him to help us clean up what could become a donor hole. So I'll talk to him first
On
thing
the
in the
front
morning.
end this time.
Yeah, and then I'll
Yep.
update the town manager as well.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, the next thing we have is a non-public hearing, case 20-152, request for site plan review, Hope Mills zoning ordinance, zoning C1P, total acreage .63 plus or minus, location is 3425 North Main Street, and it's submitted by Abel Goris, the owner. I'll turn it over to Mr. McLaughlin.
Okay, as stated, this is case 2152. This is a simple site plan review. Subject property is addressed as 3425 North Main Street. It's a .63 acre parcel. It's bound by North Main Street, Davis Street, and Duncan Street. It's that property right there at the corner. It used to be the Kika Mart, so you guys approved that one last year for a retail convenience store. I think it was a partnership, and one of the partners dissolved the relationship, and the remaining person just wants to basically reopen this as another retail store, but they had to go through this process. It's commercially zoned, and it provides for 16 parking spaces. This is an area photograph. The subject property is outlined in blue. And this is your site plan. Access to the site is off of Davis and off of Hope Mills Road. But that's basically it. There's no exterior construction proposed. Everything they're doing is will be located inside. They've already met with our inspections department. They're doing basic minimal improvements to the inside. But because of what they're trying to do, it triggered this process, which is why they have to come before you tonight.
Any questions?
Question.
Okay.
Are they already operating in that building as that 809?
They were.
'Cause I've seen trucks out there wrapped with their logo like they're already doing business, and this hasn't even come before.
That I got involved about maybe 3 weeks ago because it was brought to my attention that they were. Well, actually, it was longer than that because that's how this application was generated. They had to file because I'm not sure if I don't have the authority to do stop work orders, but I'm not sure if inspections actually issued one. But we did have a conversation with them, and they really were not that antagonistic about it. They understood what it was, and they filed the application. This is their attempt to bring it into compliance, but there was a gray area where, I guess, playing ignorance, they didn't know they had to come in and get this process completed. But we did very quickly reach out to them and tell them they needed to stop.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Chance or sidewalks required?
No. If you recall, we approved a threshold about a year and a half ago for these type of cases where if you're not doing exterior construction or if you're not renovating more than 50% of the interior, then sidewalks will not be required. So for this specific scenario, they would not be required.
And they're not touching over 50% of the interior with
No.
renovations and remodeling.
No, they aren't.
Well, the main reason I asked that, Chancellor, is because in the packet on page 2, item 12, it says a concrete or other approved surface material sidewalks are required to be constructed to include along NC Highway 59 Main Street and Davis Street.
I did see that. That's something that I have to clarify with the county, but they drafted the condition sheets, but based on the ordinance that we changed to our subdivision ordinance, it would not trigger sidewalks. So I did reach out to them to make a change to that. More than likely, the condition sheet will be updated before it's sent to the applicant after this approval.
Okay. Because it did reference our subdivision ordinance. Okay.
Yes, yes. If you recall, we did this about a year and a half ago because we saw about 8 of these type of projects get approved and not move forward because these are rental properties. Most people are not going to rent out a building and spend $20,000 to put in a sidewalk on property they don't own. So, but I didn't want to eliminate the sidewalk requirements. So that threshold keeps the sidewalk requirements intact, but it creates a little bit of leniency on some of these small businesses because those are the ones that were negatively impacted by enforcing those regulations. And I think the county just overlooked it when they put the
Okay,
condition
yeah.
sheet together.
I remember the discussion.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I saw that in the packet. That's the reason I asked.
Any other discussion? If not, do we have action?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve case number 2152, but Madam Mayor, I do have a question. So,
Okay.
will we see the revision when they come back? You said it would, the plan will probably be updated. Point number 2, the Commissioner Bellflowers, about the 50%.
You talking about in terms of condition sheet?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, so ultimately the county sends out a notice of approval, and I can just forward that to you, guys, to show the
Okay.
change, because I think it just was an oversight on their part.
Okay, so we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed, thank you. Next, we have non-public hearing, case 98-080, request for a site plan review, Hope Mills zoning ordinance, zoning CP, total acreage .73, located at 5539 Camden Road, and was submitted by Land Point LLC owner.
Again, as stated, this is case 98-080. This is for the complete demolition and rebuild of Smithfields. We met with them about a year ago, plan review, and I'm almost certain COVID took over in terms of why it appeared to be stagnated. The property is addressed at 5539 Camden Road. Again, it's the proposed rebuild of Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue. They're gonna demolish and rebuild in the exact same location, exact same layout. It's currently zoned under CP Plan Commercial District. Existing egress is off of Camden Road and off of the interior drive into the shopping center. It's a 0.73 acre site. It currently provides for 30 parking spaces. They are probably going to lose a couple. They don't like it, but they have to put in sidewalks along Camden. The 30 parking spaces isn't a minimum requirement, so they're going to lose a couple, but they still will meet the parking requirement. And here's an aerial photograph. Here is your site plan. If you were to look at the exact site, it looks just like that now. So they're going to come in, demolish the structure, rebuild it in the exact same location. They're not even changing the egress, ingress, or the layout. But we don't have any problems. They met very extensively with us several times, so they are fully aware of all the regulations in regards to fire. My department, in terms of planning and zoning and inspections and fire, are probably going to be the main 3 departments they have to deal with. This Camden is not a DOT road. The internal drive is not a town road, so Public Works' involvement is a little bit limited. It's a 0.73 acre site, so same applies to stormwater. So your main 3 departments pushing this in terms of compliance will be planning and zoning, inspections, and fire. But we don't have any issues with the project. They're waiting to start construction. I talked to Kenny Tatum today. We're kind of thrown off a little bit when we get development submittals that are really organized. We very rarely have a developer at this level that have their GC identified already. We talked to him today. They're waiting for this approval so they can get started.
Did they say how long it was going to take or the approximate timeline?
I can find out.
I was just curious because Smithfield is a very popular restaurant
Yeah.
in Hope Mills, and I think
And
there's
I
gonna be
think
some
they're
concern
fully
with it
aware.
being taken down.
But I can get a timeline, but they are very aggressive. So I do
Yeah,
not think
that'll
this
be
is going to
good.
take that
I think
long at all.
mainly for us, because people are gonna ask, how
Yeah.
long are they gonna be gone?
Yeah.
Because they are a very popular restaurant, especially for Sunday dinner, I think, 'cause it's very busy.
You're probably gonna get hammered because we're taking it out.
That's right.
But that's it.
Okay, do we have any other questions? If not, do we have action?
I'll make a motion, Mayor,
Okay.
to approve case number 98-080, request for a site plan review for Smithfield's Chicken and barbecue
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. Thank you very much. We have public comments next, and I do have one that has signed up, and they've asked Ms. Starling to read it, and it's Richard Luckenow, 5758 Crenshaw Drive, and it's in reference to Crampton Road. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Starling.
Mr. Luckenow states, Madam Mayor and Town Commissioners, Happy New Year to all. Don't mistake our lack of activism with a reduced desire to close Crampton Road. Nothing could be farther from the truth. The Crampton Road closure will be a campaign issue in November if the road is allowed to be opened. End quote.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, next we have our consent agenda, and added to that would be item H, and that was the reimbursement resolution R 2021-04 for John W. Hodges Public Safety Center loan. And is there anything else you'd like to move from consent agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda that's before you?
May I ask a question first?
Yes, sir.
Drew, is this gonna in any way, have any input on our proposed budget in the future?
The item that we just added,
I'm sorry, sir?
are you asking about the item that we added?
Yes.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with the future budget. What this allows us to do is reimburse ourselves from the construction loan, all the money that we have spent so far on the project.
Yeah.
Okay, I wonder what we're gonna do with all that double money.
We've already spent the money, we're just reimbursing
Oh.
ourselves back from the loan.
Okay. All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by raising your right. Yes, ma'am?
I'm sorry, who made it?
The
I
mo-
did.
Okay.
And the second.
Marley?
Yeah.
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. All right, next, update on Par 4 Development Project. And do we have anything new?
I don't think, Nancy, you weren't able to contact them, no.
So-
Nothing new.
Nothing new. So we're still waiting for the two developers or three developers to come to some type of understanding. All right, new business is discussion of parking issues on Corporation Drive in the Dirtbag Ells area, and this was requested by Commissioner Legg. And I know that we have at our seat, we do have a sheet of information from our police department. So if you will, you can look at that, but I'll turn it over to Ms. Adams at this time to respond, or Commissioner Legg if he wants to offer discussion.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'll do that, and thank you very much. I have spoke with police chief about this, and these are some pictures that I took one evening while I was out there. As you can see, the traffic on Corporation Drive is pretty hectic, to say the least, and crowded. And the second picture in there will show you what it looks like with a car coming at you, not a semi. And they claim that there's about 500 semis a day use that. I don't know how accurate that is, but I know there's quite a few that use that. So, I think we just, and I know we've already tried to work with DOT Ms. Adams has said they've already worked with them, to try to get something done. Personally, I think that guardrails in that area, Corporation Drive, I understand that Dirtbag L's has now got some additional possible parking on their lot now. That may solve some of the problem, but I think if we could, we need to try to stay on DOT and ask for their help in solving this problem. We want good business, as we all know, and we've got a good one there that furnishes a lot of people. I don't know whether they furnish a lot of money or not, but they furnish a lot of people and a lot of traffic. So I'll turn this over to anyone else who has any information on it. Would that be you?
Not any additional information, but I do have an idea that could solve this. It's not something that would actually present itself immediately, but if you recall, they do have to put sidewalks in based on the new expansion of the Dirty Whiskey piece on their side. But you have a 77-acre industrial development across the street. They have to do sidewalks as well. There is a section of our zoning ordinance that does allow for shared parking agreements. It's driven by a term or a phrase called character and use of the building. Typically, if I have a commercial establishment that I have a need for parking, but there's a property within a certain vicinity that can provide me with overflow parking, as long as that use is not open at the time I'm open, and as long as the spaces they're providing me with does not actually put them under the parking requirement, then that may be an option. I will explore that, but I just thought about it earlier today. The problem is I don't know what the timeline is for the completion of the industrial site. It's under construction now. If you looked at the state of the town, that big 4-acre building, that is the site across the street. So when they have this massive parking lot across the street, that industrial establishment is not going to be open on Sundays. So I think that's an option that is available to them down the road that I do think could solve a lot of this. I will explore it through the zoning and reach out to them to see if that's something they can do, but that may be a solution that we can see present itself sometime this summer.
I think it is too. It's an excellent option to
Thank
pursue.
you.
Yeah.
So do we wait to hear from them? Or what do we tell these people that's asking what's going on? Mr. McLean is the one who's writing the letters and the emails. What kind of information do we send to him?
Well, you have Chief Achardo's information. You can certainly refer this information to that gentleman. He's made contact with the Highway Patrol. He's made contact with the property owner. He's made contact with the fire marshal. He's made contact with the sheriff's department. And he's made contact with the NCDOT. So, I mean, we are actively.
I know, Chief, thank you for going out on a limb there for us. And Mr. McLean is right. If you look at that second picture I gave you tonight, it's blurry. You can't see. And that's a car coming at you, or a car coming at me. And yes, I had my hand on the wheel. But I don't know really what to tell these people, except we're working on it.
Right.
It's the only thing I know we can tell them. But every week when they contact me, which they do about every week, we need to do something before somebody gets killed. Then it's too late. But my idea to the chief, if DOT would do it, if they put guardrails down through there, would solve that problem. Because the information we got tonight tells us that they're adding a new parking lot on site. Is that correct?
They're adding parking for the Dirty Whiskey portion.
Yes, that's why, if you recall, my position has always been my hands are tied with zoning, because we have what we call minimum parking requirements. So when they built the Dirtbag L's development, they built a parking lot that met the parking requirements for the size and use of that building. For the new expanded piece, the Dirty Whiskey piece, it's a building about the same size as Dirtbag L's, but it's another parking lot on site that meets the parking requirement for that new use. So they are in full compliance with the parking. The issue, and it's a great issue to have, is they're just so successful that they're generating about 5 times the amount of volume coming to it. But I can't say they're out of compliance, even with the additional 80-something parking spaces that they built for the second facility. I think that'll help I don't think that will solve it, but I do think that will help maybe share parking and things of that nature. Whatever the solution is that could impact them the least is what I'm trying to find out. But the parking lot that they did build additional one, that is in compliance as well.
Yeah, I think it's great that we have a business in town that's doing that volume. I certainly don't want to do anything to turn everybody away, but neither do I want to see someone
Yeah, I
get
agree.
injured or killed at the same time. So, Chief, thank you for
Thanks.
your input on this and working with DOT and so forth and so on, and whomever else may have had contact with these people. I want to thank you for trying to solve this problem for us. It's not really a problem, it's a deterrent at the time. So if we can move on with that, maybe we can solve some of these issues we have, and everything will be all right, and we can have a nice growing area out there that there's plenty of room out there to grow, so it's gonna get worse before it gets better. But I was just thinking that we could stop the parking along Corporation Drive before any other businesses get in there. We won't have a problem then. So that's all I have on it, Madam Mayor, unless
Okay.
someone else has something.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Next, anything to add to the manager's report?
I do. I have a couple of items, Madam Mayor. Thank
Okay.
you. So I just want to take a minute and brag a little bit on our deputy town clerk and administrative assistant, Tiffany Shattuck. She recently has been informed that she fulfilled all the requirements for her certified municipal clerk. So she has received her CMC through IIMC, which is the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. So she's to be commended for that. She's now eligible to enter into the Master Municipal Clerk program. And along with that, she's also obtained her certification for her North Carolina certified municipal clerk. So she's, and the criteria for that is a little bit different. You have to have successfully completed all the course requirements for the IIMC, and then you have to have a minimum of 3 years' experience as a full-time clerk or deputy clerk, a minimum of then you also have to have received your CMC also, and completed the municipal and county administration course through the School of Government. So she has back-to-back received certifications for both of those. So we're very proud of her, and when you see her, congratulate her. So just want to brag on her for that. I'm very proud of
Okay.
her. Thank you.
All
And
right.
then secondly, I just want to take a few minutes and talk a little bit about something that just recently happened. I understand that there were some concerns regarding the Santa not going through the entire neighborhood of the winner of the Light Up of Hope Mills contest. And I have recently, just today, been able to meet with all the employees that were involved. And it appears that there was a misunderstanding of the route that the fire trucks were going to take. And on behalf of the staff and the town, I sincerely apologize. We did try to procure another Santa. However, we were unable due to the fact that we contracted with our Santa, and his final obligation with us was on the evening of December the 23rd, and the town does not own a Santa suit. So again, I apologize for anyone that misunderstood how that worked, and I apologize for any of the children that were left out. And And that is all I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, ma'am.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Lamarco, is that something we need to invest in, is the Santa suit for the future? Or is that something that, I don't want to say waste the money because I'll get hung tomorrow.
Good evening. Already spoken to existence. I approved a purchase rec for a Santa suit today, so it's in the works.
Good job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now I don't feel so bad.
All righty. Okay, next we have the liaison updates. If they've had any kind of meeting, we'll start with Commissioner Edwards with appearance in Mid-Carolina Council.
We haven't had any meetings yet this month.
Okay. Commissioner Legg, Historic Preservation, and RULAC.
We, like Miss Edwards, I've been celebrating the holidays. We
Okay.
have no meeting.
Commissioner Marley, Veterans Affairs.
They did not have a meeting in December.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, Parks and Rec, and Air Quality Stakeholders and Prime Movers.
We did not have a meeting for the Parks and Recs in December. Mr. McGeechy gave the December update for the Hope Mills Prime Movers. We are meeting again on Thursday, and the Air Quality Stakeholders Committee has not met.
Okay. We met tonight with the Mayor's Youth Leadership Committee. We did do a Zoom meeting tonight, and we, the young man that is the chairman of the committee, has taught Mr. McLaughlin and myself a lot of new ways to host a Zoom meeting and how to be well prepared. And we have requested copies of his agenda and his program that he used. Mr. McLaughlin made notes. So just know we're very impressed with our youth group, and they've got a committee set up that they're going to make sure that their site cleanup committee is going to contact Ms. Brown in reference to our cleanup, and they're going to adopt a highway. They're going to contact Ms. Shattuck in reference to a website, and they're also going to have social media presence so that they can advertise their projects that they want to do. And they're going to do all this with a lot of support from their advisors at the school. But it was amazing how organized and how well prepared they are, and the things that they're doing with technology, because they have to now. That with school like it is, everything they're doing, and all the programs that he's mentioning to us, the Gantt program, I'll give you that as an example. We don't know what that is, but we're going to find out so we can be sure we know. But again, that was the meeting tonight. FAMPO will have another meeting coming up, but it'll be by Zoom. And of course, the director for FAMPO, they have an interim in place. They haven't hired somebody yet. And then we have the Fayetteville County Economic Development Municipal Advisory Meeting. We had a meeting with the FCEDC, and that was the results of that was going to be the presentation this evening. So I will tell you that they've got a new logo, they got some new things going for all of Coleman County, and they're wanting to have a meeting for Hope Mills because we are right now growing very quickly and getting a lot of people interested in providing businesses for Hope Mills, and that's why we wanted them to come make that presentation. So we'll see if we can't follow up with that. Any staff comments?
We'll try to get Robert rescheduled.
Okay.
Yeah, to give that
And I know that he was aware because Ms. Starling has been having a conversation with him about other.
Sent us the
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what happened. We'll follow up.
Okay, sounds good.
Apologize.
Any other comments? No? All right. Official comments, anyone?
Ma'am, I just would like to tell everyone, I certainly hope you have a good, prosperous new year, and that this town and this board can look forward to bigger and better things to come. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Madam Mayor, I got
Yes,
one.
sir.
The number one slide on the presentation earlier was Gulfview Greenway, and I can assure you that on Saturday and Sunday, there was a tremendous amount of people that were out there. And I'm talking about families. I'm talking about folks running, walking. A lot of veterans were out there with service dogs. It was really, really good to see that. And you'll find me out there sometimes on the weekends, but this weekend the weather was really good. I just wanted to share that.
Okay, anyone else? Yes,
Madam Mayor, I
ma'am?
do have a question. I'm sorry, Ms. Adams, I should have asked you before the meeting, but I was informed that the mural on Trade Street is up, and someone asked me, when would there be an official unveiling?
That's up to the board.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, would you
We-
like to ask when they would like to
Well-
try to have an unveiling?
Where we are now, believe it or not, finding history about our train depot was difficult because we haven't, the only thing that's been recorded was a little bit in Mr. Dees's book and then a little bit on our website, but no one has taken advantage of the fact Hope Mills was a prime location. They kept the train station here back in 1904, we would have been the site instead of Fayetteville. They moved it. Hope Mills's community at that time, and this was kind of interesting to me, was the Enterprise Land Developer had put in a tram in Hope Mills. And what happened was, when they were going to transition over to Aberdeen and Rockfish Railroad, the right-of-ways for what was at that time wooden tracks were going to be given to Aberdeen and Rockfish because they already had agreements with the citizens that lived around them. Well, once they started building the railroad tracks, the citizens around them said no, they didn't want it. They didn't want a railroad. But they continued it, and we did have a railroad station, and we had connectors from here to Fayetteville, from here to Aberdeen, from here to Lumberton, and then eventually it went on, connectors from there. I think the important thing is that we were a place for passengers and freight. We actually had a cotton landing where they loaded and unloaded and weighed cotton. We were very important in the textile industry, and of course what happened was about 1973 it was abandoned because Amtrak, no textile mills, and there wasn't a need for passenger because everybody was going at that time to Fayetteville. But in saying that, we did have to have something written with some history to put on the sign. Mr. Bretner's working on that now. He'll get back with us. And I was going to ask if we could give maybe 2 or 3 dates. It's covered, and unless somebody vandalizes it and yanks it down, it's covered so you can't see it. He'll attach with it the information, and then we'll also need to notify the Arts Council, the McLean family, and the Autry family so they can be a part of it since they're letting us use their building. So, and then the Arts Council, we have turned in the paperwork back to the Arts Council, and we do have a recognizing that it was sponsored or supported by a grant from the Arts Council. So my question is to you, would it be okay if at our next meeting we coordinate a date with all those parties? Because I think if we establish a date tonight, it might mean that some of those people that need to be there, can't be there. But I know he's tonight when I went by there before I came here, he is working on the scroll attached to it.
So the next meeting, look at scheduling.
Yes.
Okay.
And what I'll try to do is contact those individuals and let them give me a date that would work. And then maybe we would do it later on in January or first part of February. If that works. Is that okay?
Do we need a motion to
No.
do that?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. But I do, it just jogged my memory. Drew and I were talking about it earlier, and when we were doing the presentation of the state of the town, kind of forgot to mention this, but when he mentioned about the groundbreaking for the public safety facility and then moving it up, we did want to ask you all, would you be interested in having a groundbreaking on the 19th, perhaps early that afternoon? Would you be able to do that?
I would say yes, we should.
Mm-hmm.
What would be, Drew?
I'll come up with a time.
He would like
Late
to.
that afternoon before it gets dark.
Yeah, before it gets dark, he'd like to invite representatives from USDA, and,
PNC Bank, New
Yes.
Orleans Construction Loan,
yeah,
our architect,
our
and the
architect.
contractors.
So maybe, we're thinking maybe 3-ish, 4.
Mm-hmm.
Would that work for you all?
It's
Any
well,
other
is
work
it-
for me?
it's
On
gonna-
the 19th,
it's going to determine about our
which is Tuesday.
Tuesday? Yeah. Yeah, well, it's good for me, I mean,
It's our meeting day, so.
yeah, but
Due to the
usually,
Martin Luther King holiday,
That's what it
we
looks
Yeah.
moved
like,
it to the
1973.
Tuesday, the 19th.
but usually on the second meeting, we have our subdivision ordinance, right?
Yeah, before they burned it.
Well, I'm not sure if Cancer has gotten,
Are we having one this month?
I don't think we've scheduled one.
We're having.
The audit.
6 o'clock meeting.
We've
With the
got a 6
auditor.
o'clock meeting for the audit, because we've got the audit presentation.
Okay, so we're not gonna have the subdivision ordinance.
No, due to the
Okay,
audit
okay.
presentation.
So if we did, so the
Why don't we do
time,
5 o'clock or something, I think.
It gets dark.
What would work best for?
yeah, the two that,
Mayor Pro
and,
Tem
and then
and
Mr.
Commissioner,
Marley also.
4:30 as late as possible, 4:30.
4:30?
Does that work for you? 4:30?
4:30.
Okay, 4:30. So 4:30, the groundbreaking. Now, are we gonna,
Flowers, is that good?
I'm good, yeah, as long, well, are you good, Commissioner Marley? All right,
are we gonna get us some nice shovels that we can paint?
We've got some already.
Okay.
Paint them Southview,
We just need to see how many we have.
Okay,
So
orange and
4:30.
black.
So we're gonna, yep, 4:30 on the
Okay.
19th.
okay,
Okay.
groundbreaking on the 19th and financial meeting.
Exciting.
Mhm.
Okay.
long time coming.
All righty.
Okay, that's it. Thank
All
you,
right,
Hannah.
thank you very much. And at this time, we do have a closed session, and I'll ask Mayor Pro Tem if she would, the motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to conduct a closed session pursuant to GS 143, 318, 11, A3, and A6, attorney-client privilege personnel.
Okay, have a motion, have a second.
Second.
Have a motion, a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed, we'll move to the back conference room at this time.
Okay, fine, okay.
At this time, I'll call our meeting back to order.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the closed session until such time as the release of the information will no longer frustrate the purpose of the closed session and further no action was taken.
Have a motion, have a second.
Second.
Have a motion, and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Do I have another motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you very much, and we will see you
2
for
weeks.
groundbreaking and,
Oh, yeah.
19.
yes, on the 19th.